Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in this video today, we're going to be reviewing Day 7 of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers OTA practices. I use the quotation marks because there is no Day 7 of Tampa Bay Buccaneers OTA practices. They only have 6 days of practices. So why do I have Day 7 here? Well, remember whenever I said in day number 6 that there was very little information in terms of what players did good in that practice on June 3rd, and we had to, use the quotes from the Buccaneers coaching staff. That was a good video, but the next morning on June 4th, the Buccaneers came out with an article written by Carmen Vitale about some of the observations of the players who did good. So we got that information after I made the Day 6 video. So now I'm here with this video on Day 7 for continuity's sake, talking about those players who did good in that June 3rd practice. The timeline looks a little bit weird because this is being recorded on June 5th now, but I still wanted to get this video out as a final, I guess, piece in terms of talking about the OTA practices before we get into mandatory minicamp. So I've paraphrased the points from that article. I will have it linked in the pinned comment down in the comment section below, and there's not a ton of information here, but I still want to talk about some of the guys who did good. So let's get started. First things first, Keshawn Vaughn caught every ball that was thrown at him, and he looked a lot more natural and fluid with his receiving ability. It's something that Keshawn Vaughn has been working on a lot this offseason, apparently. And we've talked about this on the channel here and in other places as well, like the Pewter Report podcast, like the Cannon Fire podcast, and other places. Keshawn Vaughn is in such a weird spot right now because Giovanni Bernard, he's going to be the receiving back. Point blank, that is going to be what is happening. And then you have Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette who are competing for that number 1 running back spot job. Where does Keshawn Vaughn fit into all of this? Bruce Arians came out and said, I think Keshawn Vaughn will have a breakout year. And I'm not doubting Bruce Arians here. I just don't see where he can carve a big role for himself to have that potential breakout year. I think that Keshawn Vaughn will probably get an opportunity next offseason, or next season rather, considering as it stands right now, he's going to be the only running back under contract after this upcoming season. So right now as it stands, it's good that Keshawn Vaughn is improving. I am very happy to hear that. That is wonderful news. I'm still just very confused, I think is a good word, as to what Vaughn's role is going to be in this offense for this upcoming season. I could see, maybe 2 years from now what his role is going to be, but in terms of right now, I'm just a little on the fence of, what's he going to be able to do, considering every role seems like it has a guy there filling in that spot. So we'll wait and see. Vaughn looked good as a receiving back. Seems like he did come back to OTAs after Bruce Arians kind of called him out a little bit for going with Tom Brady and the boys. So good for Vaughn there to have a good bit of practice. Nate Brooks looked good all day. Forced a pass breakup on Kyle Trask. Also came down with an interception in the last portion of practice for the day. Nate Brooks is a guy that we have been mentioning throughout this entire OTA's process. It seems like he's been making plays here and there on a couple of days. And I've talked about that 5th cornerback battle. It's a big battle. You have 6 guys who are competing for that one roster spot. And I'm just saying, Nate Brooks seems like he's building more and more momentum for himself as time is going on here. I know a lot of people were hyped about that Nate Brooks signing, not just for his special teams ability, but also for his ability as a cornerback as well. And it seems like, besides the special team stuff, it seems like he's really showing off his ability as a cornerback in these practices. So congratulations to Nate Brooks. Maybe he's, putting himself ahead in terms of that race for that 5th cornerback spot job. Another thing that was good in this practice was the pass rush did a very good job of applying pressure on the quarterbacks throughout the practice, the 2 quarterbacks being Ryan Griffin and Kyle Trask. Now, they're not allowed to touch these quarterbacks, but it was simulated pressure, if you will. If they were allowed to touch the quarterbacks, they would have done a very good job of applying pressure, getting hands on the quarterbacks and things along those lines, which is good. Once these guys are able to have contact practices and whatnot, we're going to have to wait and see how that ends up going. But the pass rush, some of these guys who are trying to make some roster spots, seems like they're doing a pretty decent job. Augie Contresa also had an interception in the final portion of practice as well. He made a very nice instinct heads-up type play on a throw. Didn't say who made that throw, but Contresa did have an interception there in that last portion of practice. Good for him. You know, he is one of those guys who's potentially battling for a roster spot, a special team spot, backup safety, maybe even a practice squad spot as well. Contresa has a lot of stuff that he, is battling for right now. So for him to go have that instinctual play, get an interception like that, is a pretty good way to end that last practice for him specifically. A couple more notes here. Khalil Davis showed good hustle and coverage ability on a screenplay, which is good to see. Khalil Davis, he is a very good athlete in his own right. And, Khalil Davis, towards the end of last year, he was getting a little bit more playing time with injuries and things along those lines. I thought he did a pretty decent job. He helped fill in a little bit when Vita Vea went down with an injury. Obviously, they traded for Steve McLendon, and that was a big deal in terms of adding depth. Again, he is back with the team, but I still think Khalil Davis is a good backup defensive lineman. I really do like the development that I've seen from him. His pass rushing ability, I think he's getting better in the run game as well, and overall, the dude's just hustling. He's trying to prove that he belongs as a backup defensive lineman. He, is trying to prove that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers made a right decision when drafting him, and overall, he's trying to go out there and ball out, and it seems like he did that a little bit in this final practice, so a pretty good impression there. Let's see how a lot of these young guys continue to grow and develop in these upcoming other practices that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to have with mandatory minicamp and other things. But then finally, guys, the final play of practice was a touchdown pass from Ryan Griffin to Jaydon Mickens. Jaydon Mickens is still continuing to make plays. We mentioned him just a couple of practices ago where the man was basically uncoverable, and that continued now in this practice. Well, not continued, the good word continued for Jaydon Mickens, where he caught a really nice touchdown pass from Ryan Griffin, who overall has seemed to be doing a pretty decent job along with Kyle Trask. Both those guys are out there competing for that quarterback job. Going to be interesting to see what happens with Blaine Gabbert. I wonder if Blaine Gabbert's just overall pretty confident that he is going to have a roster spot. I know the coaching staff and the front office both love him a lot. They actually gave him a pretty decent amount of guaranteed money in the deal when he re-signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Ryan Griffin, not only is he potentially competing for a practice squad spot here at the Buccaneers, as is Jaydon Mickens, or even a roster spot, you never know. But, you also got to think about maybe Ryan Griffin, if he does get cut. Maybe he could go be a backup quarterback for another team. They're making it difficult, man. They're trying to make it difficult for the Buccaneers to cut these guys. And, guys like Ryan Griffin, Jaydon Mickens, who have been coming in pretty much day in and day out and having really solid practices, they're going to make that decision pretty darn difficult, in my opinion. But guys, that's pretty much it overall for the entirety of Buccaneers OTAs. We've mentioned a lot of players, some people more than others. We mentioned Ryan Griffin a lot, Jaydon Mickens a couple of times, Grant Stewart a lot. Shout out to Grant Stewart, friend of the channel. KJ Britt we mentioned, Kyle Trask, Jalen Darden, and a few other guys. Nate Brooks we actually mentioned a lot. He had a pretty good run here of practices. So out of all of these videos, we've gone 7 videos now talking about these practices. Who have you been most impressed with in terms of consistency from these videos? The names mentioned the most. Who are you coming away from these sets of OTA practices and videos going, yeah, I feel a lot more confident in this player's ability to make this roster, or for them to carve out a significant role on offense or defense? Leave me your thoughts. But anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Hope you all enjoyed. And next is mandatory minicamp, guys. That is coming up, I think, next week. So this is going to be even more content to produce here on the channel. It's going to be loads of fun. But anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Hope you all enjoyed. Now we'll see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.